Hello. Our group's presentation is based on Climate and Carbon Exchange by Tobias Pagliaroli, Roman Battista, Nicola Stojanovic, Jacob Godor, and Thomas Darchi. So our thought-provoking question is, will the actions we take today be enough to forestall the direct impacts of climate change, or is it too little or too late to begin? So some important questions that we wanted to address and answer is, what is the problem, and how do we know that there's a grave problem? So it all starts with climate change. So with the increase of carbon dioxide levels, humans are burning fossil fuels such as oil, coal, and natural gas, and the energy that is being released to power cars and other machines that are used to generate electricity are keeping buildings warm. The burning fuel releases and waste gases, including the carbon dioxide, and as the human population increases, more fuel is used and more carbon dioxide is released and is becoming to grow and rise in levels. So out of this, we get global warming. Now, global warming is the extra carbon dioxide that is increased in the greenhouse effect. The more heat is trapped by the atmosphere, causing the planet to become warmer than it would be naturally. The increase in global temperature causes global warming. We know this by what NASA has already stated, that the changes in the carbon cycle impact each reservoir. Excess carbon in the atmosphere warms the planet and helps plants on land grow more. Excess carbon in the ocean makes the water more acidic, putting marine life in grave danger.
Where is the problem occurring? Is the severity of the problem different around the world? The problem is occurring in MDCs where the use of motorized vehicle is more common and where industries are more frequent. What causes the problem? Carbon dioxide is the primary greenhouse gas that is contributing to recent climate change. CO2 is absorbed and emitted naturally as a part of the carbon cycle through plant and animal respiration, volcanic eruptions, and ocean atmosphere exchange. Human activities such as the burning of fossil fuels and changes in land use release a large amount of CO2, causing concentration in the atmosphere to rise. What are the possible future effects of the problem? How will it affect the world? The possible future effects are an increase of CO2 on Earth and global warming. The consequences of this will be the deaths of different species and bacteria and then us. What is being done to solve the problem? Are there laws related to the topic? The creation of vehicles working with alternative fuels such as Tesla is a solution to this problem. This use of alternative resources can also be a solution. What can an individual do to help? Reduce vehicle emissions. One of the biggest producers of CO2 saturating our atmosphere are the vehicles many of us drive every day. This is the second largest source of carbon dioxide produced in the US, accounting for 31% of the total emissions. This isn't just limited to personal vehicles, however, as anything that runs on gasoline or diesel fuel engine contributes to this problem.
Now, many may ask themselves, what is climate change and how is it being influenced by carbon emissions? Well, first off, let's start with the basics. Climate change, also known as global warming, is a process that directs to the increase in Earth's surface temperatures. It relates to the greenhouse effect through the process of trapping the sun's warmth in the lower atmosphere, which then is changed to infrared radiation being emitted back from the planet's surface. The majority of scientists theorize that climate change is mainly caused by the increase in human activity with the use of fossil fuels burning, which emits large quantities of carbon dioxide and various other greenhouse gases into the air. Now, why and how are carbon emissions destroying the planet? Let's see. Due to the humans' use of burning and consuming fossil fuels, many greenhouse gases, including carbon dioxide, are being released in large quantities into the Earth's atmosphere. Gases such as carbon dioxide can be harmful as a carbon dioxide blanket, which acts as a trapping mechanism, prevents its gases from escaping into space, increasing the heat temperatures in the atmosphere. Since many of these gases trap heat within the atmosphere, it causes a range of negative effects on ecosystems, including rising sea temperatures, rising sea levels, severe weather events, and droughts that render landscapes more susceptible to wildfires. According to Yale Environment 360, the increase in the negative effects of carbon emissions can be seen with a decrease in the total volume of Arctic sea ice by 75% in half a century. Now, why are carbon emissions a problem? Carbon emissions are a problem due to the fact that it negatively affects both the planet and society as a whole. It has caused the increase in sea levels as more polar ice caps melt, created stronger storms, which bring larger amounts of damage and increased sea temperatures. The emissions have also increased the number of wildfires, bringing more threats to the lives and homes of many. All of these effects have contributed largely to the deaths of many individuals and the destruction of many homes and habitats as well.
In recent years, governments have been taking action to solving the carbon and climate exchange issue. Governments have been setting up cap and trade schemes at national and international levels. Basically, these caps set a limit on the amount of emissions that are allowed from significant sources of carbon. Once these governments agree on the set limit, they begin issuing permits to companies and industries. If the companies lower their amount of carbon emissions, they can trade their excess permits for money. And basically, this makes people want to cut their emissions off because they know if they do that, they'll make money off of doing so. Another way to eliminate this problem is to implement taxes on carbon. A lot of European countries already have this in place and are implementing taxes on the carbon. In the U.S., our President Obama imposed a clean power plan on energy producers. This was designed to reduce the emissions of carbon exchange by 32% by the year 2030.
Some ways you can help in reducing or limiting the amount of carbon in the atmosphere can be by flying less. Air travel leaves behind a huge carbon footprint. Before you book your next airline ticket, consider sustainable transportation options such as buses or trains, or try vacationing closer to home. You can also stay in touch with people by video conferencing, which saves time as well as travel and accommodation costs. Another way can be by eating wisely. What you eat has a climate impact. Buy organic and locally grown foods. Avoid processed items. Grow some of your own food and eat low on the food chain. At least one meat-free meal a day, since 18% of greenhouse gas emissions come from meat and dairy products. Be energy efficient. You already switch off lights. What's next? Change light bulbs to compact fluorescents or LEDs. Unplug computers, TVs, and other electronics when not in use. Wash clothes in cold or warm, not hot water. Dryers are energy hogs, so use wool dryer balls, or ever yet, hang dry when you can. Install a programmable thermostat. Look for their Energy Star label when buying new appliances, and the home energy audit is cheaper than you think.
We conclude that in a relatively short period of time since the launch of the Industrial Revolution, fossil fuels have been consumed at an alarming rate by humans for energy use, particularly in comparison to the millions of years it took for the fuels to accumulate. The corresponding amounts of carbon dioxide and other gases emitted as a byproduct of this consumption have been impressive. The volume of these greenhouse gases, called so due to their heat-trapping qualities, have been rising and is changing our planet's environment and can cause great damage in the nearby future.